Well, it's Memorial Day, May 30th, 2016. We're at the Lake Forest Senior Living Complex, Senior Living Community on the Lakeshore Road, just south of Plattsburgh for a very special Memorial Day program. It's so thrilled that I can represent Calvin Castine and Hometown Cable to bring you this program. And it pleases me that so many people care about those who have lost their lives serving this great nation of ours since the wars began. We're just coming off a very special weekend of travel to the Akwesasne St. Regis Indian Mohawk Reservation on the Canadian border near Massena. And some of you might know about Code Talkers, very famous group of native people, including the Mohawks, the Navajos, and some 32 or 33 other tribes during the Second World War and First World War that were called upon to speak their native language and send secret messages in code that our enemies could never decode. And so these people were sworn to secrecy over the years and were never able to tell even their closest family members that they were involved as code talkers until very recently, when the United States of America's Congress decided to bestow the highest civilian honors they could with beautifully struck gold and silver medals to these people. And one of the code talkers out of all those involved from the reservation in Akwesasne is Levi Oakes, whom we got to speak to on Saturday as they received their medals, and others representing the families were able to receive the medals. And it was a moving ceremony, believe me. But it's Memorial Day weekend, and there are very few of us except those who are the hardy party goers and the people who want to drink beer and barbecue, and that's not a bad idea either. Except that it's important for us to remember all the lives that were lost in defense of the freedom of our great nation. So I'm thrilled and delighted to be here representing Calvin Castine. I'm Gordy Little. The program will begin here this afternoon. You'll hear some great music. You'll hear some speeches. You'll hear a lot of things that will denote the importance of this Memorial Day. So stay tuned to Hometown Cable.
Continue working to protect it. Today we join to remember and honor those who sacrificed their lives for our past, present, and our future.
Shall we pray? O Lord, giver of every good and perfect gift, our Lord, giver of all life, and giver of this wonderful, wonderful world, which prompts us to go give praises and thanksgiving to you. Our Lord, giver of diversity, which reveals to us how fond our Creator is of differences, colors, plants, animals, people, culture, nations, all of many kinds. Leave us with a feeling of awe. It is fitting and right to have this day put aside to pay tribute and honor to those who through courage, perseverance, and personal sacrifices have sought to maintain and protect our highest values and our goal of freedom for all as a nation. As a nation, we owe allegiance to God's truths and blessings with thanksgiving. Amen.
Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright and bright stars through the perilous gave proof to the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Charles, for leading us in the singing of our national anthem. It is a heart-stirring, uplifting tribute to our country. And I think we should sing it more often than we do. We are the land of the free and the home of the brave. I also want to thank Tiana for the time she has spent in developing this program this afternoon. Thank you, Tiana. Every year when I hear the call for us to remember those who are or who have been served in the armed forces, I want to stand up and say, let's take a second step forward. Let us remember to thank those who kept the home fires burning, although we don't need a fire today. Those who are often raising children without the help of the fathers. It does not compare with the official duty calls, but it was indeed a very special commitment by service wives. So today, let us recognize and show our appreciation for both kinds of service. Will those of you who served in the Air Force please stand or hold up your hands? Now will all the Air Force wives or widows join then? How many of you were stationed in Plattsburgh? You were and are a big asset to our community. I call on you who served in the Marines to stand up or to hold up your hand so that you can be recognized and thanked for your outdoors of duty. I'd like for all the Marine wives to join you in standing up. Oh, what a disappointment. Both my brothers were Marines. Now I ask all of you who were stationed in the Army to please stand up or hold up a hand. I invite the Army wives to join them. Thank you. And last but not least, will those of you who served in the Navy, identify yourselves by standing up or raising your hand. I and other Navy wives are asked to stand and join with them. I think I have covered the major services, but in case I have left someone out, please stand and identify yourselves now. I have been asked to say something about my experiences as a Navy wife. My husband-to-be was a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy and was initially sent to the South Pacific in 1944 to serve on the Baltimore, a Navy carrier. I had the misfortune, or was it fortunate, for it to be caught in a typhoon and sustained heavy damage in their hull. So they, as quietly as possible, because of the many Japanese ships and submarines in the Pacific, limped back to Hawaii as quietly as possible for repairs. While there, my husband Malcolm received orders to report for flight training. Yes, the Navy had aircraft as well as ships. In the 2-week period before reporting for flight training, Mal and his Vermont parents came to North Carolina to support our marriage. A little over a year later, he received his wings in Pensacola, Florida, and reported for duty to fly in PB-4Y-2. The PB-4Y-2 is a reconnaissance plane that flies low and slow. And he was first sent to the Mediterranean and then to the North Atlantic to look out for submarines in particular. After 6 years, transferred to the inactive Navy, and although we went on active duty 1 month of every year until he retired with 25 years of service and the rank of lieutenant commander. He died from a heart attack in 2002 at the age of 80. I moved to Lake Forest in 2008 and have felt blessed to live in this beautiful place with beautiful people. That is a very brief account of a special time in my life. Now I want to call Lieutenant Colonel John Dino to come forward. He will be speaking to us about his time in the service. You can find a listing on the program of all he has been associated with, leading up to his current position as the Military Personnel Management Officer in the Vermont National Guard in Colchester, Vermont. Thank you as our guest to Lake Placid. Thank you for sharing some of your experiences with us this time.
Thank you, ma'am. I want to thank you all for attending, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for inviting me to honor Memorial Day with you. Memorial Day, for most, it is a 3-day weekend filled with barbecues and picnics. a time to get away from the normal humdrum of the week. For others, it's the beginning of summer, a time to look towards the long, lazy days and a time to plan your summer getaways. Though for some, Memorial Day holds a special significance. On May 5th, 1868, an order issued by General John Logan established a day of remembrance for those soldiers who died during the Civil War. May 30, 1868 was the day designated for this observance, and flowers were placed on the graves of the fallen soldiers of both the Union and Confederate armies. New York was the first state to officially recognize this observance in 1873 and in 1971 with the passage of the National Holiday Act. Memorial Day was designated as the last Monday of May. I, like my grandfather, my father's actually 86 years old and served in the Navy. My uncles, both in the Army, are veterans. My son serves on the USS Hartford, attack sub. He's a nuclear engineer. And my other son is going to school for the same. He's in A school down in South Carolina currently. I know Memorial Day, and I know what it is about. Memorial Day for all soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marines, and Coast Guard is embodied in the words of the oath that only 1% of the United States population takes when enlisting into the service of this country. I'd like to read that oath to you. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God. This oath taken by each and every soldier, airman, sailor, Marine, and Coast Guard member exemplifies the reason why they do what they do each and every day. Soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marines, and Coast Guard are defenders of the same principles that made this country great. They stand as patriots to defend and protect the ideals and sentiments espoused in the Constitution of the United States. They bear true faith and allegiance to that document, and they work and live within the codes of the military justice. They also obey the orders of the President of the United States and the officers appointed over them. These truths are self-evident in the everyday lives of soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marines, and Coast Guard members. Now, as we see our fellow citizens arrive back from foreign land, we should now not forget those words that each and every soldier, airman, sailor, Marine, and Coast Guard member spoke upon enlistment. Because when we look upon a returning military member from conflict, a disabled veteran, or a grave marker, those words should ring in our conscience. On this very special day, we are reminded of the soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marines, Coast Guard, and their families who provide intimate, personal histories of the fight for our nation's freedom and liberties. We pause to remember their stories of valor, heroics, and great sacrifice. Stories of citizens from all walks of life who wore the uniform of the American soldier, airman, sailor, Marine, and Coast Guard. Their stories are too often painful, but still need to be told. I'd like to share two stories with you now, one of the yesteryear and one not too long ago. During the Vietnam War, Private First Class Milton Olive III was so proud of his enlistment, he practically slept in his uniform while home on leave. Olive deployed to Vietnam in 1965. While on patrol with 4 other soldiers moving through the jungle, a grenade landed in the midst. Private Olive saved the lives of his fellow soldiers by grabbing the grenade in his hand and following on it to absorb the blast with his body. Through his bravery, quick action, and complete disregard for safety, he prevented additional loss of life or injury to the members of his platoon. One of those men, John Foster, said, "I know that since Milton died, I am living for 2 people, not 1." From wars of long ago to those of recent times, this day provides us, a nation, an opportunity to pause and remember for the service and sacrifice of so many different and remarkable people. U.S. Army Captain Kimberly Hampton was an athlete from South Carolina who dreamed of flying helicopters. The United States needs good, solid troops in hot spots. That's where I want to be, she said.
Following her dream, she became an OH-58 helicopter pilot and led her platoon into Iraq in September 2003. On January 2nd, 2004, she was shot down and killed while flying in support of troops battling on the ground in Fallujah, the first female pilot killed in combat operations. Today we pause and reflect on those service members who sacrificed themselves so that we might continue our lives in freedom and security. Like Private Olive's squad mates, we are living not only for ourselves, but for all of them. Those we remember today came from across our country, every race and religion, from farms and factories, cities and neighborhoods, and every imaginable walk of life. At the moment of greatest danger, all of them chose to put themselves in harm's way in defense of their comrades, their country, and each of us. The Gold Star families give us strength and help us to remember our responsibility to their loved ones. As we remember today, their sons and daughters, those service members who made the ultimate sacrifice, let us also spare a thought for those unsung heroes for whom the loss is so much more personal. We recognize the sacrifice you have made, often with far less choice than the service member you lost, and we are eternally grateful. Memorial Day is about honoring the heroes who are here only in spirit, to keep their memories alive. Citizens of this great nation cannot help but feel awed by the enormity of sacrifices these men and women have given. We merely need to feel the warmth of the sun, a beautiful day out, to remember them looking down on us and what they gave to us. Your presence here today and that of the people gathering all across America is a tribute to those lost military members and to their families. It is a way to say we remember. From the soldiers who shivered and starved through the winter at Valley Forge, to the doughboys crouched in the muddy trenches of France, to the platoon who patrolled the hazy jungles of Vietnam, and the men and women that patrolled the mountains of Afghanistan or Iraq. We remember and honor them all. I'd like to share a quote with you by Martin Luther King Jr. In the end, we remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Thank you all for attending. God bless you and your families. God bless our soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marines, and Coast Guard. God bless America. Thank you.
Now I have the honor of recognizing those members of the Lake Forest community who have attained the highest rank in the military, that of veteran. I believe in any senior officer, a veteran demands more respect than any rank in the military. I recognize today William W. Cowan, Navy, World War II career. Charles Delser, U.S. Air Force. Frederick Drummond, U.S. Marine Corps, career. Elmer G. Hayes, U.S. Army Cadet Nurse Corps, World War II. James T. Hayes, Navy, World War II, career. Charles Johnson, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Myron Mike Manskin, U.S. Army, World War II. James McGraw, U.S. Army, career. David Pombrio, U.S. Army, career. Lorna Redding, U.S. Army Cadet Nurse Corps, World War II. John Redmond, U.S. Navy, the naval blockade of Cuba. Ronald Teal, U.S. Air Force, Cold War. John West, U.S. Navy Seabees, World War II. Ron Power, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Following veterans this past year: William Lowe, U.S. Air Force, World War II. And for some reason, you had two people leave your wonderful community. I don't know why. Rudolph Schmidt, U.S. Air Force, Korea. And H. Maureen Fitzgerald, U.S. Navy, Vietnam. Thank you for your service.
Flag folding ceremony represents the same religious principles on which our country was originally founded. A portion of the flag denoting honor is the canton of blue, containing the stars representing the states our veterans served in uniform. Canton field of blue dresses from left to right and is inverted when draped over a pall on a casket of a veteran who has served our country in uniform. In the armed forces of the United States, at the ceremony of retreat, the flag is lowered, folded in a triangle fold, and kept under watch throughout the night as a tribute to our nation's honored dead. The next morning, it is brought out, and at the ceremony of reveille, run aloft as a symbol of our belief in the resurrected body. The first fold of our flag is a symbol of life. The second fold is a symbol of our belief in the eternal life. The third fold is made in honor, in remembrance of the veterans departing our ranks, who gave a portion of life for the defense of our country to attain peace throughout the world. The fourth fold represents our weaker nature For as American citizens trusting in God, it is to Him we turn in times of peace, as well as in times of war, for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is a tribute to our country, for in the words of Stephen Decatur, our country is dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but it is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold is for where our hearts lie. It is with our hearts that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that we protect our country and our flag against all her enemies, whether they be found within or without the boundaries of our republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered into the valley of the shadow of death, that we might see the light of day, and to honor Mother, for whom it flies on Mother's Day. The ninth fold is a tribute to womanhood, for it has been through their faith, love, loyalty, and devotion that the character of the men and women who have made this country great have been molded. The 10th fold is a tribute to Father, for he too has given his sons and daughters for the defense of our country since they were first born. The 11th fold, in the eyes of a Hebrew citizen, represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon, and glorifies in their eyes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold, in the eyes of a Christian citizen, represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies in their eyes God the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit. When the flag is completely folded, the stars are upmost, reminding us of our national motto, "In God we trust." After the flag is completely folded and tucked in, it takes on the appearance of a cocked hat, ever reminding us of the soldiers who served under General George Washington and the sailors and Marines who served under Captain John Paul Jones, who were followed by their comrades and shipmates in the armed forces of the United States, preserving for us rights, privileges, and freedom that we all enjoy today.
Certainly been a very impressive ceremony. Thank you, Tiana, for making it possible. Thank everybody for attending this, our fourth memorial service here at Lake Forest. Thank you for attending this, and have a good day.
Let us pray. O Lord, giver of light, often we live through darkness as a person or as a nation, but we can keep our courage in such times by knowing the great truth that darkness can never be put out, never can be putting out your light. Give us, we pray, wisdom for the facing of these times. Guide us to maintain, protect, and strive to make our nation, the United States of America, to be well-pleasing in your sight. Enlighten us, inspire us to uphold our nation's highest values. We now go forth depending greatly on the presence of your steadfast and never-ending love. Amen.
Thank you, everyone, and please join us inside for some light refreshments before dinner.
And there you have it, a very special Memorial Day ceremony 2016 at Lake Forest Senior Living Complex on the Lakeshore Road south of Plattsburgh, almost in the shadow of the old stone barracks. I want to thank all the seniors who reside here. I want to thank the people who put the program together, our good friend Ron Wood, our delightful friend John West, who's been around this community for a long time, for the management at this particular location for being here. I want to especially thank and bless and honor the memory of all the veterans who died in defense of our great nation. We've enjoyed being here today for this brief ceremony. We hope you enjoyed remembering those people in your lives who gave the supreme sacrifice for the freedom of the United States of America so that the rest of us might live and enjoy beautiful sunshiny days like this May 30th, 2016. Thank you all for watching Hometown Cable. Thanks to Calvin Castine for allowing us to do this program and the many other programs we've done through the years. We hope you support the show in some way by sending your generous checks or your cash contributions to Calvin Castine and care of Hometown Cable on the Ridge Road in Champlain. And who knows where we're going to be next time for our